Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Just got done with a run, and while I was on a run, I had this story just pop into my head from when I was a kid. First time ever hopping on. My name is Anthony Kaufman. I've been doing this video series in hopes to help someone kind of leapfrog ahead in their success and use what I've learned in order to move the needle in their own life. So I'm running, and I had this story pop into my head, and just like a little bit of background, as a kid, I was obsessed with anything Chinese, Japanese. I was always all about any martial arts, anything like that. I was always watching those movies. I was always into that sort of thing. And one story that stuck out to me is I believe it's Chinese legend, and it's of this. At the time, there were masters of each martial art and each weapon, and like master of nunchucks, master of swords, like things like that across the entire spectrum, but they were specialized in one area of expertise. Okay, and there was a homeless boy who trained in the woods, just teaching himself to defend himself against enemies and other people, things like that. And at the age of 18, he decided that he was going to go out and he was going to establish himself. And his first fight ever, he lost. And from that point on, he vowed that he was going to go from master to master and beat them with their own weapon. So if there was a master who taught everyone in the land about nunchucks, he would beat him with nunchucks. If there was a master of the darts, he would beat him with darts. So literally, and what he did is he actually did this. He went through and he defeated each and every one of the masters at their own weapon, having never been trained from them. So he trained himself on how to master that own specific weapon. I think you guys might be able to know where I'm going with this. Finally, the final battle was with the Grand Master of the entire nation. He was the master of the longsword. So to insult him, so knowing your enemy, to insult him, he was like, I want you to meet me on this island at dawn, and we can fight, and you can be the last one that I'll beat. So the master rows out to the island, and he's not there. The boy's not there. He had a servant who he paid to row him out to the island. On the way, in order to slow the pace, he took one of the oars from the servant and began to whittle it. Okay? Bear with me now, this story's going somewhere. He began to whittle it. On the way to the island, the servant's only rowing with one oar, and he's whittling away at the other oar. When he shows up, the Grand Master of the entire land, the Master of the Longsword, sees him with a wooden sword. Furious, he takes charge, you know, how they hold it back and they come forward, takes charge, running across the ground at him. The boy takes charge and starts running at him. In the fashion of fighting with long swords, they both stop short and swing. Now, the master caught the boy across the face and across the chest, splitting it open. Just superficial though, not a deep cut. The boy, when he came through, it hit the neck of the master, snapped his neck, and killed him instantly. He knew the exact length of the sword that the long sword master trained with, and made the oar sword 3 inches longer. So the moral of the story, as a kid, I took away a bunch of these different ones, but basically the moral of the story is know your enemy. Know your enemy so well that you know them better than they know themselves. So when that comes to competition, when that comes to different things like things in your market and in your space that can sometimes be hurdles to get over, knowing the ins and outs of how to get around them. But the bigger message here in that aspect, in that one sector of the message I want to talk about, is it's like the old African proverb, Africa proverb, that if there's no enemy within, there's no enemy without that can harm you. Meaning, usually our biggest enemy is ourself. Our self-defeating thoughts, our self-defeating verbiage that we use to ourselves, are things that we constantly say or do to ourselves, getting in ourselves, we're usually our biggest critic. So understanding, like Tony Robbins talks about your flavor of pain. The thing that you go to when you feel dejected, rejected, when you feel like life isn't going your way. What scoop of pain do you like? What do you like to focus on? Knowing yourself, knowing your tendencies, and knowing your weaknesses, and knowing areas where you need to improve, and just knocking that guy out. Because that ego, that voice in your head that tries to tell you you're not good enough, which usually is what ego does. It's, etching out God, so to speak. Like, it's getting in the way of you being great. It's getting in our way of being great, getting in the way of us being great. Again, just to preface, I like this message between us, meaning I'm learning from this just as much as you guys are learning from this. So if I ever use the word you, it's never directed at you. I mean in general. So we tell ourselves these things that defeat us. So when we know our enemy, the inner enemy, those two wolves that are fighting, and we know how to defeat it, there's nothing that can challenge us. There's nothing that can overtake us. There's nothing that can defeat us, because we will find a way to overcome. Also, in that is the spirit of competition. And what I mean by that is, if you notice, he never wanted the master that he was battling on their worst day. He never wanted them when they were sick. He never wanted them when they were coming off a defeat. He wanted them at the top of their game, the A-list, the apex of their game, on spot. He wanted them to wake up that morning and eat their Wheaties. He wanted to make sure that they were on their very best game when he took them out. So that idea of competition, of going, you want competitors, you want people who are vying for what you're going for. You want Dr. E, as he says on a lot of his videos, what would you do if you knew 10,000 people wanted exactly what you wanted? What would you do? Are you the person that backs down, or are you the person that steps forward? How do you address the situation? So that's that wanting your competition. Morning, Lucy. It's wanting that competition at their apex game. Like when they're on point is when you want them. That you want to rise to the level to where it's never a thing of they were having a bad day, or they always do better at that, or they were just off. He would conquer the masters at their peak conditioning, at their peak game, in order to just squash it. So those two lessons of knowing your inner self, knowing your inner voice, and figuring out where the triggers are, where the things that have you cower in and back down from situations, knowing how to push through that and get yourself to act, knowing how to conquer that enemy, and then also having the spirit of some competition, where like it's fun to go toe to toe with somebody, and if they kick your butt in whatever it is, whatever competition, if you're running a race, or if sometimes you're driving and you see your spouse and you try to race home, like anything, just that spirit of competition, and always wanting the other person to be on their A game, always bringing a sense of not in a facetious way of taking somebody out or taking somebody down, but just that competition breeds perfection. Because you're going to have to get better. You're going to have to bring more value to the marketplace. You're going to have to bring more value to your customers. You're going to have to bring more value to the people that you're serving, whatever that aspect is, in order to perform better than your competition. Because the competition isn't the competition's you and what you deliver and the value that you deliver. So I hope you guys make it a wonderful Tuesday. Got my video done, 6 hours before I did yesterday, but it's that message of overcoming our own inner thoughts, overcoming our own inner demons, so to speak, and things that get in the way of us being great, and things that hold us back, the voices that we sometimes listen to, the noise that we sometimes listen to, instead of our inner voice that tells us how great we are. And then also healthy competition, and just breeding competition, and just saying, bring it on. I want the resistance so that I can be a better person, because we only expand by demand. You guys make it a wonderful Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow.